That shit on the headlight. Host FINS Sammy, aka FINS Post on X, and joining me as always, my co-host Steve Hallett. Steve, welcome to the show.
Sammy, happy Tuesday night. It's great to be here with you. Looking forward to breaking down what we saw against the Giants, cutting it up with some of our friends, and seeing what we got heading into this week with the Carolina Panthers rolling into Miami Gardens.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting game for a game that was supposed to be a walk in the park. Turned out to be quite interesting game. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So we're going to have some stuff to talk about. So on this episode, we're going to talk about the Dolphins roller coaster season, from winning by scoring 70 points to losing by 28 to incredible touchdown to dumbfounded interception. It's been quite a roller coaster season, but only one quarter of the 20-game Dolphin season this year. We're going to talk about, the confidence level. We're going to see some confidence level. So Dolphins play it right now. The fumbles, because of the running backs, now with HNs, then you're going to talk about how confident we feel about some positions on the team. And we're going to look forward to the Panthers game this weekend. They're going to be honoring Zach Thomas ring ceremony during halftime. It's going to be interesting. I'll be fortunate hopefully to make it to the game, so I'll probably have a blog or something later to share my experience. And next week we're going to probably talk about it. But this Zach Thomas more deserving is the Panthers hasn't won a game, but we'd be glad to see Zach Thomas. We're also so happy for him when he got elected to the Hall of Fame. So it's going to be a very special moment.
I think it's going to be a very exciting weekend. I know it's one of those things that everybody that's a Dolphins fan was looking forward to Zach Thomas finally getting what he long deserved in that enshrinement in the Hall of Fame. And it couldn't come on a better weekend. It's going to be fan club weekend. I know that there's a lot of events in the area planned for the fans as they roll into town and get into the experience. And from what I understand, they're going to put on a pretty good show there at halftime to honor Zach Thomas. So I unfortunately won't be there, but I will be there in spirit. It's going to be an incredible weekend for everybody in attendance.
Yeah, he's more than deserving. It's like he deserves everything, every honor the Dolphins can give him. So he's waited for a long, long time to be in the Hall of Fame. Fans, the Hall of Fame said that that every time they put something about the Dolphins, the question were asked, when are they going to put Zach Thomas in the Hall of Fame? So Dolphins fans, it's a great moment for Zach Thomas, but it's also a great moment for Dolphins fans and for Zach Thomas fans also.
No doubt. It definitely is.
So we're going to start. Let me see him here. Give me a second. Give me a second, Steve. Talk a little while I check something here, please, Steve.
All right, I'll talk a little bit more here. So, more about Zach Thomas. So I admit that my wife, we're sitting there watching the Hall of Fame announcements and everything, and every year we're watching, waiting to see if he makes it or not. And then she actually knew. We were watching the NFL honors, and she saw Jimmy Johnson standing in his gold jacket. And she said the only reason that Jimmy Johnson is there in his gold jacket is because he's going to be the person to announce Zach Thomas. So I get chills thinking about it when they finally announced it. You see him walk out on stage, and I think if you had a dry eye at that moment, then you weren't a true Dolphins fan, or you're a little bit too hard around the edges. I'm a lot softer in my old age now. But all right, let's get on with this.
Oh, I'm glad you did that. You said that. Now we're ready. Let's start with the Giants game, the Dolphins game against the Giants last Sunday.
On first down, Tua tossing it back. This is achane coming off 2 huge games. Second and goal, 2-yard line. Tagovailoa rolling to his left, throws, end zone, touchdown. Third down and 8. Jones under pressure. He was sacked 10 times on Monday night. Down he goes. From the 43, here's achane. Loses the football, and the Giants have recovered. On second down, Tua steps up, and now he throws, it's complete. From the 24, on first down, a big hole for achane, still going, down the sideline. Achane will take it all the way, 76 yards for a Dolphins touchdown.
Trust on these third downs.
Third down and 9. Jones taken down. There is a flag. It was
Can get through for the sack.
4th sack of Jones here in the first half. Gano certainly is. First down and 15 following the penalty. Tua swings it out. Speaking of fast, how about Tyreek Hill? Hill inside the 20 and then finally.
No, you give up 1 touchdown.
On third and goal to the end zone. Picked off. Oh, the deflection. Giants with their second takeaway. It's Pinnock. Jason Pinnock, 102 yards for the Giants' first touchdown in the first half. This season it comes from their defense. 40-yard attempt from the right hash. So the interception return for a touchdown in the middle. Now going deep to the far side, caught. It's Hill. Touchdown! 69 yards. A rare third down play for the Dolphins.
Oh my goodness.
The third Giants takeaway. You were just talking about him, Bobby
Time just yet.
And we've seen some crazy fourth quarter comebacks the last 3 weeks. 37-yarder from Gano. Matching the 2000 Rams. They won the Super Bowl the prior season. Here's Mostert. First down and more. Second and goal, Mostert, he's in, touchdown. Would have liked more. And now Van Ginkel comes in with yet another sack. 6 in all, third down and 10. Taylor, speaking of sacks, he's brought down.
Score game, if you make this, it'll be 2 scores.
Gano from 50.
Steps up in the pocket. Of course, Andrew Van Ginkel. Christian Wilkins.
Let's see what
the knee's down. Oh, did that right knee go down beforehand, though?
Giants will drop to 1 and 4. And Dolphins win it 31-16. On first down.
Dolphins 4-1 starts in 2003. The game was supposed to be a cakewalk, like they say, but it has some twists. the Dolphins offense look well. You can, I feel much better right now than I did during the show and just after the show. During the show, I was, I'm a fan. I'm not gonna deny it. I try to be my best to be impartial sometimes, but I'm still a fan first and foremost. I love the Dolphins, so I want them to succeed. I would like them to do well. Uh, Tua sometimes look inconsistent, hesitant. I don't know, but the good thing is when you need to throw the ball, he didn't keep the goal. He didn't took the that late hit that been trouble for him. So, but Steve, I want to know your thoughts about the game.
I mean, it's definitely a much better feeling. I'd like to say that I'm disappointed that we didn't go out there and absolutely blow through the New York Giants, but you play the games for a reason. That's any given Sunday, a team can show up like the Arizona Cardinals and blow the Dallas Cowboys out of the water when Dallas is supposed to be one of the top teams in the league. I still think they're good. I still think they're talented, but you never know what the Giants are going to bring into town. I thought they were going to pull out, a couple more rabbits out of their hat to try to trick us, but it was really, it was Miami's game to lose, and they never let the Giants really truly into the game. But it was another impressive showing by this offense. It's over 500 yards of offense, 300 through the air, 200 on the ground. Coach McDaniel, proving that he's not a one-trick pony, proving that he isn't just a pass-first kind of guy. That there was one drive, I think we were down 24-14, and I think aside from just a quick little shovel pass to one of our running backs, I think it was achane, they ran every single play that drive, capped off with a Mostert goal line touchdown. So it's really great to see that Coach McDaniel still has more up his sleeve that he's pulling out, that he can play with Hill on the field, that he can play without Hill on the field, that he can play without both Hill and Waddle on the field, and still put up the numbers. And it's something that, during the years of Sperano, Philbin, Gase, Flores, we never saw this type of stuff, and it's exciting. And there are frustrating things on the field, but right now I'm happy that the Dolphins went out there, handled their business, handled the adversity, and made a big bounce back from the previous week's loss against Buffalo.
Yeah, definitely. The There were times during the game that you can see the momentum could have shifted to the Giants in any other season, any other team. You could, like I said before, the snowball effect. The ball start rolling to the hill and the Dolphins fall flat. So this team kept up the speed. McDaniel, didn't let the foot of the gas. They keep powering through, and they find a way to win. That's the most important thing. And the offense looked good. Over 500 yards of offense, if I'm not mistaken. You should not be able to complain. Of course, there were some mistakes. You can see that Tua had 2 interceptions. Both of the interceptions have question marks. The one in the end zone supposedly had a holding call that wasn't called, and the one on the side of the field, of course, they said that his hand bounced off. I think what Connor Williams' helmet. So that probably were not his fault. He could have done better still, but the fumbles, we're going to talk later about the show about the fumbles. But overall, I know the Dolphins team probably could have had a disaster ending, and we could have been, kicking ourselves in the rear end right now, saying, I could not believe we lost that game. But the Dolphins power tried to win the game. That's the most important thing.
No, they took a couple hits. Anytime you lose that turnover battle, even if you don't lose the turnover battle, even if our defense is getting takeaways, those changes of possession change momentum. They give the other teams a better field position, usually if we're punting, which wasn't exactly the case with our punter this last game. But the first interception, I didn't know if there was a hold. Either way, in my opinion, it was a bad decision. Throw those away. First, early on in the game, Tua took a snap. It wasn't there. You see that growth in Tua where he threw it at the feet of the wide receivers, a running back there in the flats, and he said, "You know what? We're going to live to play another game, another down." He didn't make that decision down at the goal line, and that is a big decision that he has to learn to grow from, which I think he will. Tua is one of those quarterbacks that doesn't consistently make the same mistakes over and over again. He learns from them, especially in the same game. The second one, yes, his arm did hit Connor Williams' helmet. He couldn't follow through. It caused a higher release point. But if you look to the right a little bit, you've got the tight end in the in the center of the field, more
Yeah.
open. Kind of got the happy feet a little bit. And the last thing, my comment on the offense, you heard after the game that Tua touchdown to Tyreek, that in terms of growth, Tua called that play from the line of scrimmage. He
Mhm.
noticed the coverage, knew what he could do. He looked off the safety, but he saw we've got a rookie corner over here on who is hands down the best active wide receiver right now in the NFL.
Mhm.
Zero questions about it. A Tyreek Hill man coverage 1-on-1, and he absolutely torched him because Tua recognized that it before the snap and called it, and it was over from that point.
Absolutely. So we're going to be joined now by our esteemed panelists. As always, Mr. Matt Armstrong and Eddie Chaput. Good evening, guys.
Hey, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, you saw the game. The games have some inconsistencies. The win is a win. It was a good win, but I want to take your thoughts about the game. Matt, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts about the game on Sunday against the Giants?
I think that was one of those games over the years we've cringed at, because it was one of those games that we go in thinking, if we can pull this off. And not only did we pull it off, but we overcame the traps that were that Steve and you, Sammy, have already mentioned, the turnovers. One turnover you're nervous about, because we know that historically that it turns into points for the other team.
Mhm.
2 turnovers, this is not going to end well. 3 turnovers, that's a loss, right?
Mhm.
Everyone that can hear my voice knows, as a Dolphins fan,
Yeah.
you don't win that game with that kind of a turnover differential. And it's almost as if, all right, well, that happened. Let's get it back. Every team in every sport says something to the effect of, let's get it back. Give up a home run. All right, let's get it back. Give up a touchdown. All right, let's get it back. Right. And it seems like that's what they did. They just went back out and did their business. It was impressive. I know the Giants are hurting. I know they aren't at full speed.
Mhm.
I know that they have a Duke player at quarterback, which that's not my fault. You drafted him, not me. But point is the Giants are still an NFL team. They're still on the schedule.
They didn't quit. They
They
didn't quit.
didn't quit, right?
The Broncos, you can say they quit, but the Giants didn't quit.
Yeah, the Broncos quit after the first touchdown. The
Mhm.
Giants, they were in this game all the way to the end. And for the Broncos, I think that's a clear testimony to the coaching of that team.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, the Giants didn't quit, and that is a game that in the past the Dolphins would have absolutely lost.
Mhm.
It's a sign of growth. It's a sign of maturity. It's a sign of a team that's really starting to come together.
I agree. Anybody else thoughts about the game, the last Sunday's win against the Giants?
Of course, they could have played better, but it's nice to be able to complain about our team and they still win 30, what was it, 38-16. It's amazing. They've come a long way. That's a well-coached team over there. Brian Dable's a good coach. They were in the playoffs last year.
Mhm.
They were coming in at 1-3, so I was worried. And Miami didn't play well, like I said, and they still beat them up pretty good. I mean, some bad throws by Tua, but the one hit his helmet, like Steve said. But other than that, they come back. They gave, when they turned the ball over, they would come back on offense and score. So they put it right back on the Giants to make another play, and it's the good thing about this team. The Dolphins have no quit in them either. They don't hang their heads. They go back out there and they do what they need to do. It was a good win. You need to win games like that. You have to win ugly games.
Yeah, and the Dolphins' defense against the mobile quarterback. The last couple of years, we have a game against the mobile quarterback. We had trouble, and Daniel Jones is not at his best right now, but he's a mobile quarterback. He can run the ball, and the Dolphins play pretty well. The Dolphins defense overall has some moments like they could have done much better also, but the Dolphins defense if you ask me, stand up when he needed to. So it was a good game for the defense. So, Steve, you have any thoughts about the defense? I don't know if you want to talk about
Yeah,
that.
I feel at times like we sound like a bunch of spoiled fans here. It's
That's refreshing.
well, I mean, it is. It totally is because it is the polar opposite of where we were in the we'll call it what it was, the tank for two a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's we've now have a new standard, a new bar that we're setting.
Mm-hmm.
So when the defense appears to be letting us down, and I'm a little bit hard on the defense. I'm like a parent. Over the last 40 years of my fandom or so, you see him grow, you see him fall back, and over the past several years, we've had moments where we've had these times of dominance, and you see him do good things. During this game, quick stop, we stop the Giants on the first drive, we get the ball back, and we go right down and score. They didn't kill us this weekend. Let's be real. We got 7 sacks. Yep, Matt said it. They're a depleted team. They're beat up. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what they have against them, 12 sacks the week before. It's Would we have liked to have seen more? Yeah, it'd be great to see some good production out of our, Agba and Chubb, but we're getting it done as a unit, and every team. I guess what my frustration stems from with the defense is look at the two teams. You've got the Giants doing sustained drives down the field that didn't always end up in points for them. We were able to stop them, force a punt, maybe a field goal against teams like Buffalo, even the Chargers this year. They go down the field and they score because we haven't shown the ability to dig our heels in and stop them. And as we talked about ad nauseum last week, following the Bills game, we haven't yet proven from a defensive side that we have that bend but don't break type mentality or capability with what we have on the defensive side of the ball. So that's what concerns me is if we're going against a much more high-powered offense. We'll see in a couple weekends here of Sunday Night Football up in Philly. We'll see what a high-powered, or maybe not so much high-powered, but very, very talented, very strong offensive line type team will be able to do if maybe we can start to keep them from those third and short opportunities where they just do that Philly shove, push, whatever you want to call it type play, the Philly special. But that's just my thought. And I feel kind of spoiled at times because I'm disappointed that we're not getting those turnovers, that we're not getting them on 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. But like you opened, we're 4-1. I'm thrilled that we're 4-1. We're not 3-2 like we were last year, and so many other times when we've started the season 3-0. And going back to what we've hammered home a lot of times on this, it comes over to turnover differential. We're going to give the ball away, but this defense has to find a way to be more consistent in getting the forced fumbles. Find a way to put a little bit more pressure into the passing lanes and get interceptions. Get your hands on the balls to give us those short field opportunities that show that we have the ability to not break when we're bending on those offenses. But all in all, absolutely thrilled that we turned the game around the way that we did. They're coming off of a hard loss.
Most definitely. Any thoughts about the defense, how they play on the last on this game? Eddie?
They're a little up and down, but how many times have we seen them in past years go against backup offensive tackles and not even get close to the quarterback? It's happened many a times. Oh, they don't have this guy, and our guys aren't anywhere near him. Yeah. I'll take 7 sacks anytime against any professional football team. I don't care if it's a backup or not. I would like them to jump in front of a ball once in a while instead of letting the guy catch it and tackling him. But other than that, they did what they had to do. Just they have to tighten up against the good teams. Like Steve said, a couple weeks we're going to find out because that team has a great tight end and good big receivers, and we will see.
Yeah, I tried to find the stat, but I could not find it. I'll do better. I'll try to find it for next week probably. But I read somewhere, heard somewhere that the Dolphins are near the top in quarterback hits. They're not getting the sacks, but they're getting to the quarterback. So putting pressure, they're getting better. And the other thing was that after the turnovers, they did not panic that other weeks before, when they had to do something and they overplayed set the play and they go for the ball instead of making the tackle. There were some missed tackles, but overall they tackled much better last last Sunday.
Yeah,
Much
and
better.
I also wanted to say you can see the difference. Again, two totally different teams, can't call apples to apples here, but seeing Deshaun Elliott back on the field this last weekend,
Yeah.
there was a huge difference in that defensive backfield just from the safeties alone with Deshaun Elliott back there. It was great to see him back. He made an impact early on in the game, and I think he really helped Javon Holland be the best person that he is on that field.
Absolutely. Matt, any thoughts about the Dolphins defense last Sunday?
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things that we're witnessing about this defense is there are some names on this defense with Christian Wilkins, Bradley Chubb is, he's getting a lot of grief. Is the production meeting is the output meeting what he is being paid or what we paid for him? But three little letters, AVG. That guy is possessed, and I haven't even started talking about Zach Sealer yet. The fact that you're getting such incredible production out of Andrew Van Ginkel, I will tell you that nobody in the national media would have even said, "Oh, and by the way, they've got Andrew Van Ginkel." That didn't happen. So the fact that they're getting that kind of production from him, and Sealer is doing his thing, that guy is worth every dime that they gave him.
Step up last Sunday.
Absolutely. I think that bodes well for the big picture. I tend to preach patience a bit more than many people. We're through 5 games here. The defense is still learning. There are players who have publicly admitted that this is a different type of defense. This is a more complex. You got to grasp more of it, and your time is compressed. By Tuesday, you're already planning for the next game. So my patience level is a bit better, or not better, more. There's more patience of the defense. I see the same thing that everybody else is saying. Eddie said it perfectly. I really wish they would jump in front of a pass once or twice. I don't think we have any defensive touchdowns this year. That 102-yard TD return that the Giants had, I would give anything for that to be Javon Holland going the other way. But I think it's coming. And the fact that they are getting production from players that you maybe weren't expecting at the beginning of the season, maybe you were hoping, but you weren't expecting it, I think that bodes well for the future as we go along. The Panthers game is going to be an excellent opportunity to get better, because on the other side of that is about as tough of a stretch as they're going to see this season in back-to-back games. So I think the defense has room to improve. I think they're going in the right direction.
Absolutely. You mentioned Andrew Van Ginkel, and he's been such a good boy lately. I'm gonna call him by his government name. Omar Kelly said the other day that Stephen Ross wasn't. I heard Joe Ross say the story that Stephen Ross was in the tunnel waiting for someone, and people could pass him by. He spent so much money on so many players, and players kept passing by, and he was waiting for Andrew Van Ginkel. Yeah. Of all people, he's waiting for Andrew Van Ginkel.
I think that speaks volumes as to
that says a lot to me.
The impression that kid has made this year alone, and we've seen it. We've seen a bit of it over the last year. Some flashes there, but he's certainly performing.
Absolutely. So next, we're going to talk about the Dolphin roller coaster season.
On their rookie running back, who's been a sensation, Devin Achane, who's expected to miss multiple weeks with a knee injury, and he's a candidate for injured reserve. Horrible news. Sources telling Adam Schefter. How big a deal is this, Stephen?
Well, I think it's a big deal because Achane, his brother's been special, no doubt about it.
League by storm.
He is. But it's a big deal because that gets rid of one of their weapons for a while, and I get that. Here's the thing, though. Mike McDaniels, I got to say this. He got a whole bunch of brothers looking great, right?
Yes, he does.
Also, you got speed everywhere.
Everywhere.
And so somehow, some way, it's like I want to say it's pivotal and it's a big impact. But Shannon, Jeff, I'm anxious to see who he's going to have as a replacement. Who he's got coming out of reserve. You just get on the field because there might be another brother running a 4-2, 4-3.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We don't know
Yeah.
with Mike McDaniels with the speedsters he's got on this squad.
Yeah. Well, the first replacement will be Raheem Mostert, who has exceptional speed. But I saw him against Buffalo, and he didn't run with the same conviction. He didn't seem as excited as Devon Achane, because when he gets the ball, both guys are a threat to hit their head on the goalpost. But I hadn't seen a young man running back that has this kind of ability like this kid here in a very, very long time, Saturday. This kid is special.
Absolutely. He's a difference maker. It is going to be a lot. Jeff Wilson, I think they can bring him off of IR or whatever he is. He's at that 21-day thing. I think he can come off as a runner. Here's the thing for Mike. They have so many, and they can use so many multiple personnel groups and formations. They can put Hill in the backfield, and they can make him, they can do a number of different things. The scary part is if this guy gets healthy, he takes 3 weeks off and he gets healthy, I mean, that's even scarier for defense as defenses wear out and he gets faster, because to Shannon's point,
That's a good point.
I think this dude averages over 10 or 11 yards a carry. That is insane in the NFL. Like anybody, I don't care how few, that means you are fast, bro. That's different level and power.
I know injuries are a part of the game, but I feel like there's been a whole lot of late with these superstar players.
Things can not be going so bad when you see the media, we're looking for silver linings when the Dolphins get an injury. That's very interesting. But from winning by scoring 70 and losing by 28 and some amazing runs and so dumbfounding interceptions, it's been quite a season. We're 1 quarter to the 20-game Dolphins season this year. So we're gonna got some thoughts about the roller coaster kind of season, up and down season that's been so far. But we're going to start with that. We're later going to talk about achane. I'm going to start with Matt. Matt, what are your thoughts about overall this season? Being some great moments, but then something happened. Still, 4-1. That's the silver lining. That's the great part of the story.
I think that the consistent, every time you talk about the team, the consistent message has always started with, if they stay healthy. It's the caveat for every team in every sport. And of course, this guy gets dinged up. Fingers crossed that it's not anything serious that's going to put him on the shelf for the season. But Sammy, you and I were talking in pre-production tonight about kind of a belief I have in where this team is today versus last season and versus teams 5, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and it's redundancy. And you can see it, especially on the offensive side of the ball, especially with the addition of Claypool to the roster. There's redundancy at just about every position, including at the quarterback position. So you've got wide receivers. We had Waddle out for a couple games, didn't miss a beat, right? Now with achane out, you've got Jeff Wilson, who is able to come back. And in his time with the team last year, before he went out on injured reserve, that dude was a battering ram, okay? And he's got speed too, so get out of the way. But there's redundancy there, and I don't know what Shannon Sharp's talking about. Mostert looked like Mostert against the Bills. Maybe he and I watched 2 different games. Maybe he had better seats than I did, but I would not want to get in front of Mostert at all. And one of the most critical parts, which we're really not talking about, knock on wood, where we have redundancy is, and Sammy, you and I talked about, take the names out of it and just call it the position. This year at left tackle, the redundancy has been in play, right? We have not worried about, oh my God, we don't have this player. The redundancy of the system has been in place that they can plug in somebody, and that has not been the case in years past. It wasn't the case last year. You can see that across the line, across the offensive line. Connor Williams was out. They put Eichenberg in, and it's very, very common. It's very popular to be down on Eichenberg because of his time at guard in his time with the team. I think he did a manageable job at the position last week. Um, and then, of course, number one, who we don't ever want to worry about him being out. But are you more confident today with the redundancy in place if one has to go out for a little bit? I am. They built a team. They're building a team that allows them to cover up these kinds of things with Achane or with anybody else that might go out with an injury. I'm two thumbs up with it.
Eddie, how about you? What are your thoughts about the this season up and down, some parts, but still a very good season?
Oh, it's a very good season. It's not been too much of a roller coaster. Last week was a big down, of course, but we had our up with the Chargers after being down most of the game. But it's refreshing to have backups that can play football. He's done a great job. Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel they have done a great job in putting players that want to play in Miami on that team and want to win. And you can genuinely see that they like each other. That team seems like a team to me. Can't always say that on a team. There's a lot of I don't think anybody on that team, and that includes Hill, is a diva. He's amazing to me. That as good as he is, he's always trying to get everybody up with him to do everything right and to try harder. And that's where it starts with. Just a couple years ago, Philbin got rid of all the big personalities in the room because he was scared that they would overshadow him, I guess. And I mean, they lost some good people that were really good leaders, and it's good to see somebody like McDaniel can take a personality, no matter how big it is, and incorporate it into the team.
Absolutely. Steve, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's again, I was hard earlier on the team for the defense, but if we're talking about a roller coaster, and I absolutely love roller coasters, but I think the thrill of it is just sitting in the seat, and when you first finally kick off and you move and it goes really quickly and then you kind of go up slowly, and that's the roller coaster ride we've been on. Now, actually, let me take that back. When we went against the Broncos, that was the downward, and we were like, oh my God, this is absolutely incredible. I don't really. Sure, the Buffalo game was tough, but I was not surprised by the outcome. Mm-hmm. They gave us what I expected. We lost in parts of the game where I wasn't surprised that we lost the game. Mm-hmm. So on offense, Matt hit some tremendous points there. The redundancies that we have at positions on this team where in the past. And knock on wood, we haven't had a really bad injury bug hitting us, but that brings to memory. Pre-production, we were talking about hockey, and I live here in the Tampa Bay area. And a couple years ago, when the Lightning went on to win the Stanley Cup, I remember that they had one of their top players sitting on injured reserve the entire year. And people were upset because I guess it's a way to kind of get around the NHL salary cap. I don't even understand NFL salary cap well enough to talk about that. But in any case, right at the playoff time, he became healthy again, or they activated him, and they had a healthy player who was one of the best in the league, ready and fresh for the entire playoff run, and they went through the Stanley Cups. And that's how I feel right now with anticipation of who we have kind of stashed away, waiting to get healthy with our injured reserve. Who we've got Armstead, we've got Ramsey, Achane is now is going to be taking that time off, but while they're sitting there getting healthy as we progress through the season, assuming the big assumption that we can stay relatively healthy with who we have right now, we're going to be entering the later stages of this season in a position that in my memory, we've never entered. And that's with a lot of top players in the league coming out for their first snaps of the year or in months that other teams aren't going to have that benefit. So that's a great thing. And I'm not again, I'm not worried about the defense. I want to see them shore up. I want to see them get a better handle on it. I would really like to see, as we hit the trading deadline, I'd like to see them go out there and find an impactful run stopping inside linebacker. Somebody to carry that Landon Roberts role. My guy took a beating, but let me tell you, he was one of the hardest hitting players I've seen in the middle linebacker role for the Dolphins in a very long time. And I really think that we need somebody like that in there. If they can find it, great. If they can't, I think that Baker and Long will learn and adjust week over week in Fangio's defense. And roller coaster ride's coming. I think we're just getting started.
Yeah, we're going to get started. Also, you took a lot of great points over there, saying about how those players that have yet to come back, those additions, it's going to be huge. But also the players that have not hit their stride yet. You can say Waddle has not hit the stride yet. Bradley Chubb certainly has not hit the stride. Nor Christian Wilkins. There are a couple of players on this team that are not to par compared to where they used to be or should be. If those players go not even exceed what they should see it based on their salary, some of them, but if they play to the capabilities that was expected from themselves, probably this team is gonna be only going up. So Waddle, Chubb, Wilkins, the only two main three name three players. If those three go up in production, you're gonna see a whole different team probably going forward. I want to talk very quickly about the achane situation. You can see he was taking over that spot, So he was supposed to be the backup, but I think he had the first round of the game that makes him the starter. So he started last Sunday's game. He was playing so well. Hopefully, it's not something huge. But I wanna know before we go to the next topic about the situation about the inconsistencies on the running game from the fumbles. I want to talk that very quickly because that was a subject that it was supposed to be coming to the show before the Asian unfortunately Tuesday came. I want to know your thoughts about what's going to happen next up with Asians going down to injury. I'm going to start with Matthew. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think they continue on. It's business as usual. The fumbles they're a part of football. A little bit shocked. I don't remember Mostert dropping the ball much, if at all, last year. So having him do it against the Bills, and then Achane doing it against the Giants, it's not fun, right? But let's say he's out for 4 games. Let's say he goes on IR. He's out for 4 games. You bring in Wilson, but you guys alluded to something a minute ago, which I really hadn't considered, and I've been kind of stewing on it. It's the variables of moving players around. Would you be surprised at all if they lined up with Tyreek at running back?
No.
In fact, why haven't we seen that yet, right? Like that is something that today none of us would be surprised by seeing that, and the other team might be. But I have a feeling that this team, this leadership, is not a color within the lines kind of thought process. Achane goes out fast as a hiccup. You need to pick up a few extra yards quick. Let's go ahead and throw Tyreek back there. Let's throw Waddle back there. I wouldn't do it every down, obviously, but I am not worried at all. The only worry I have is that Achane's injury is as minor as it can possibly be.
Absolutely. Eddie, what are your thoughts about the HA situation right now?
I think Matt just hit on Hill playing running back. I believe he played running back in college for a season or two. They used him once back there, Matt. I don't know if you saw that or not. He was in the backfield. They didn't hand him the ball, I don't think, but it worked because everybody ran to him and they did a reverse. I wish the NFL would do something about a slip-down tackle. That's where you grab the guy and slip down to his legs because that's how he hurt his knee. They worry about the players' heads all the time. I understand. You ask most of the players, though, they said they'd rather get hit in the head than the knee because That's what they say. I know it's terrible for the long term getting hit in the head, but some of the if these guys do not learn how to tackle, they shouldn't be playing football because they go right after the knees. These safeties go at the knees. If you're not man enough to hit the guy in the chest or the stomach, don't be back there. It bothers me, but I think they'll be fine in the running game. I think the running game will be a little bit different without Achane. I think they might do a little more power stuff. Most are almost as fast as Achane, or Achane. But I think it just might be a little bit different. Help me with the other guy's name. Number 35, I believe. Is it Brooks?
Chris Brooks.
Oh, Chris, we haven't even talked about him.
I was getting ready to. Damn it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I quit.
Nope, you're good. Keep going. Nope.
He knocked the 270. He knocked a 275-pound defensive end on his butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he can do that in blocking, he can run for short yards. It'll just change a little bit, but they'll be fine. And like Matt said, just please only be like 4 games. The only thing I am a little worried about is I think you can only bring back so many players
5 times
from injured reserve.
Is it 5 times?
I think it's 7 or 8 players or something
7
like
or
that.
8, I believe.
Yeah, but we're already at like 6, I think.
Right. You're going to have to bring back Ramsey. You're going to have to bring back Armstead. You're going to have to bring back Achane. So I think they'll probably just stash Achane. And if he's good, if he's fine, I think they'll just keep him on the roster and play one man down.
Steve, please go ahead, even if Eddie is still there.
I still got something he didn't talk about. No, it's all good. Actually, on X, just retweeted from Achane's Instagram post saying, "Only the strong survive. I'll be back better than ever." So clearly, cat's out of the bag. Coach McDaniel was pretty cryptic in his Monday it was Monday yesterday's presser about what's going on with Achane. Is he hurt? Is he not? Because I saw him come back in the game. I saw Eddie. We were messaging in our little group here during the game and saying he's hurt. I hadn't seen anything. Maybe I missed it in my celebration of one of the touchdowns or something. But then I saw him back in the game. I'm like, hey, everything's good. And then the one play that you just mentioned where Chris Brooks wasn't paying attention. I admit I don't look at blocking too often in the middle of the speed that's out there right now. But after the play, after the dust settled, he gets up and he was celebrating. And I'm like, hold on a second. Hopefully they do a replay because I want to see what Brooks is so happy about. And you see him go in motion and absolutely lay out a defensive end. And, well, first of all, it drove him back full pancake block. And one of those things that, I'm sure that in the film sessions this week, he was getting a pat on the back for what he did in that play. But it's a sign of what McDaniel institutes with this team of everybody has to block. You see Waddle blocking, you see Hill blocking, you see everybody blocking. And it really sucks about Achane. Jeff Saturday, hopefully now you'll pay attention to him and know he's not at 10 or so yards per carry. My man is at 12.1 yards per carry. What is he, 50 yards less than the leading, which is Christian McCaffrey? Yes. In 38 carries? Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Achane is an absolute beast. I can't wait for him to come back. I do believe that he will come back, whether he gets stashed on the IR or they just put him in a closet somewhere. They're going to have to at some point start balancing out the roster spots because with everybody that comes healthy, we're going to have to start losing a couple people. We bring Wilson on board. Somebody's going to have to go. We bring Ramsey on board. Somebody's going to have to go, Armstead, so on and so forth. It's something that we're not hearing, and I don't know why, because granted, he's been injured a little bit too much for my taste. Hasn't really been tapped into what I really wanted to see over the years, especially with as poor as our running game was. Salvon Ahmed is still out there. Mm-hmm. He's experienced in this offense. When he had an opportunity in the preseason, he took every possible advantage of that to the point that Myles Gaskin got the boot. I really expect that Ahmed is going to get a great opportunity to step up in there. And we're not changing the offense here. Right. It's the outside zone. It's the toss sweep type plays where they find those gaps that all of a sudden that we've never seen before. It's the parting of the Red Sea where all of a sudden we have lanes for these running backs to go down in this offense. And every single one of them can hit those holes. And it's fantastic to see. It really sucks to see Achane because, frankly, I don't think there's anybody even close to Offensive Player of the Year like Achane was going to see. And who knows? I mean, come back, you'll still have, let's see, week 5. Let's say he comes back around week 9, week 10. What's that, 7 more games for him to get over 1,000 yards?
I think
Seriously.
If I can
Absolutely.
add to that, Steve,
Yeah, man.
you mentioned Savon Ahmed coming back. He's not the same player, but I don't need him to be the same player. If Achane is coming in and picking up 20, he's picking up over 12 yards a carry, right? That's the statistics. The stats say that's who you are. I don't care if Ahmed comes in and gets 6 yards a carry. I don't care if he only gets 5, 6, 7 yards a carry on those very same plays. You just said it. The offense isn't going to change. If he's pulling in that, 2nd and 3 is a whole lot easier than 2nd and 9, right? We know that. That's basic. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you bringing him up because he is kind of forgotten, but he doesn't have to be Achane. He just has to be Savon Ahmed.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna appreciate if we're going to move forward. We used to go to talk about some Dolphins fumbles, but we had a great talk about Asian about the running game. So we're going to see forward. So, but let's test the confidence level of some Dolphins topics, and we're going to start with Eli Apple. Well, Eli Apple had an interesting Sunday last Sunday. Like every time that they had water on him, the guy seemed like he had a first down. So can't wait for Jalen Ramsey to come back. So they bench him from game 2, but now he's back. I want to hear your overall thoughts on what is your confidence level right now on how good on Tyreek Hill's good friend Eli Apple. Steve, I'm gonna start with you.
So I feel like Miami this year has the potential to be the island of misfit players, because we're taking players and maybe we'll talk about Chase Claypool here in a little bit. Don't know if we'll have enough time to pack that fun into here, but Eli Apple, I'm on record. Never been a huge fan of his. Just performance-wise, he's never really panned out. But I'm sitting here looking at his stats. He's right on track with his best ever. And if Vic Fangio, the team around him, the environment, whatever it is, maybe the Florida sunshine is bringing out in him what is his best ever as a pro, it may not be the best that we need to see, but we don't need it to be the best. It goes back to what Matt was talking about, the redundancies. Thank God we have these redundancies right now, because if we had to face what we had at weeks 16, 17, 18 of 2022,
yeah,
we'd be toast. I'm glad we have a redundancy in Eli Apple that we're getting the best that the NFL has seen of him. But in any case, the point of this, confidence level right now, based on what I'm seeing, 65%. It's a lot higher right now than what I would have said prior to week 1. I have a 65% confidence level in what he's able to put up out there.
Eddie, how about you? What is your confidence level on Tyreek's good friend Eli Apple?
It's about 75%. I believe they missed him a lot in the Buffalo game, because it moves Kohu back to the slot where he is a very good slot corner. Not only that, the one thing about Eli Apple that helps his defense is he can tackle. Yeah. People do not give him credit, but he
had a great tackle last Sunday.
Yeah, he sticks his nose in there, and we all know Kohu can tackle too. He's small, but both them guys, it makes a big difference. Is he Jalen Ramsey? No. Is he great? No. But I have a lot of confidence in him. I think they really missed him against Buffalo. There was a lot of missed tackles in that game, him and Deshaun Elliott, but 75%.
That's good. Matt, what about you? What are your thoughts on the confidence level on Eli Apple?
I don't have any issue with Eli. He's a veteran cornerback, which is probably the toughest position to play on defense. You are on an island, and many times you're lined up across the line from the best receiver that your opponent has. Eddie just said it too. He can tackle, and he's proven that in his career. He's a veteran, He's not a rookie out there like that poor, what's that guy's name, Toast for the Giants that was lined up across from Tyreek there. He's definitely not that guy. My confidence level is a good 80%. Don't let me down, Eli. This weekend, I don't need you to let me down. I'm 80% confident in your abilities, buddy.
Well, I think Steve was. I agree with a lot with Steven. If the Dolphins had Eli Apple last season, they probably would have done a lot much better with what they have in the end of the season. Uh, he, Covering the tight end sometimes is a tough task, and he was put in some compromising positions on Sunday. So that he's playing his role. He's been a team player, and that's a reason why he took the bench on the second game of the season, and they put her back over. So Cam Smith probably is not ready. Needham is not ready. So
I forgot about Cam Smith too. Jesus, we got redundancies on this team.
Yeah.
So
And let's be real, Sammy. Calling Darren Waller just a tight end isn't doing it justice.
No,
the guy's a freak. So it's
yeah,
not
okay.
like you're just covering Mike Gesicki out there.
He was so close to being a Dolphin. He was going to be traded to the Dolphins, but it didn't happen. But we got Tyreek Hill, so it's so good. But if confidence level, I'm not gonna go way high, but the situation is what it is. So 51% is more than enough for him, for a player like him. He didn't start the whole year with us. He late training capitation, and he's pulling his way through. So that's next we're gonna have some fun. It's a slow week. So what's your confidence level on Jake Bailey? Yeah, he's probably the most underused player in the whole team, of course. But when he had the opportunities last Sunday, he was low, like oh, please don't. I don't want to think of us a cold weather game. If we have one, probably we're going to have one. But that guy punted a cold weather game. That's the reason why they kicked their ass out of New England. But I want to start with Eddie. What is your confidence level on punter Jake Bailey? With the
About
salvation that,
40%,
of course, that we're not putting anyone down. We're classy on this show. We're pretty positive, but still,
Okay.
it needs to be said. Sorry, there you go, Steve. I was Eddie.
40% about what he's averaging per kick. That's about my confidence level. I don't know. He was an All-Pro a couple years ago, but the Patriots do not usually let go of people that are still good. So, I do not have a lot of confidence in him. If I was still in shape, I would try to go punt again, but I'm not, so I can't.
How about you, Matt?
I didn't even know he was on the team.
That's the point.
I'm kidding. Punters are people too.
Yes, they are.
He had a bad day on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We can chalk it up to rust. I think Sammy, you just said the least used player on the roster. I'm going to use Sammy's logic and go with 51% confidence in him. Hopefully against the Panthers, he never sees the field other than to hold on PATs. But he just needs some playing time.
How about you, Steve?
It's not too often that I'm the sunshine and rainbows part of this group, but I'm just happy that we don't have to punt very much. Again, we've been in this position so many times where we are the ones that are punting so much because we're at 3rd and 3. We get a 5-yard penalty, and then we get a toss sweep that turns it into 3rd and 14 from a shotgun position, and they tackle behind the line, and then we're punting, and we punt so many times. He's punted 10 times this year. Extremely underutilized, thank goodness. My confidence level is at a 68% because he did turn it around. I think his average for the 2 punts was about 77 yards. So his first one was 20 yards. I can punt 20 yards. So, but which means the second one was 57 net after I think they got a little bit of a return on that one. So the second one, he redeemed himself some. The first one was really inexcusable. But I still cannot understand what in the world happened, why they let Thomas Morstead out of the building. Actually, they didn't let him out of the building. They showed him the door because they signed Bailey before Morstead went to New York. So, I mean, and then I saw the highlights of him absolutely dropping a bomb on the 3 yard line, and all it did was just bounce straight up. It was like a dead cat. It just bounced straight up, and then it just went out of bounds right there at the 4 yard line. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? We let him go out the door when he was, first of all, he was a hell of a positive veteran influence in our locker room. And second of all, the dude does his job.
Yeah.
But he's punted, I think, 25 times this year to our 10. So, but I'll give him 68%. I still like Jake Bailey. Sit on the bench more.
Yeah, for me, the best part of Jake Bailey, he makes me somehow not related, but he makes me forget about Jason Sanders. So that's good, So next, we're gonna start talking about the upcoming game against the Panthers. The Dolphins face the Panthers this Sunday, as we talked before. We're gonna be honoring Zach Thomas at halftime. The Panthers have the 20th ranked offense. The Dolphins have number one. The 17th ranked defense. The Dolphins are still at 25th. 18th on passing, Dolphins first, and 19th rushing, Dolphins first. Okay. 318 yards per game compared to 522 yards per game for the Dolphins. The Dolphins lead in both rushing and passing the league. That's very very good for us. For great news for us. All 5 Panthers are traveling to Hard Rock this Sunday. Anything can happen in the NFL. You cannot overlook any opponent. They had a great defense, a very good defense last year. Still intact, not the same defensive coordinator, not the same coaching staff, but they have some players on defense. So they still, if you go by the numbers, better defense than us right now as far as playing. And so I want to know what's your thoughts about the game. I want to start with Matt. Matt, you are familiar to the Carolina area, so what are your thoughts about the Panthers and the upcoming game?
It's really simple. The Miami Hurricanes showed just how stupid you have to be the other night to give a game away, right? They had a game in their pocket, and as long as the Dolphins don't do something completely moronic, this should not be much of a contest at all. The Carolina Panthers do not have a viable player at the quarterback position. And from there on, it's really downhill for that team. The Panthers, I feel bad for them. They're trying. They gave up the house in order to get the first round pick. I think they chose the wrong guy. We were talking about that in pre-production. I'm positive they chose the wrong guy, and it seems like it if you look at what's going on in Houston. But that's not my problem. If the Dolphins don't pull a Hurricanes this weekend, the Dolphins should have this game easily.
Yeah, weather permitting. Well, we'll see with the weather. It's supposed to be raining during the game. We'll see if that changes. So hopefully, that could be a factor. But Eddie, what are your thoughts about the coming game against the Panthers?
It's a game they should win, need to win. I hate when a team comes in without any wins, like the Colts did a couple years ago and beat us with, I believe Carson Wentz beat us, which was horrible. But they should win that game. The Panthers are still good on defense. They give up a lot of rushing yards, so hopefully we can take advantage of that. Keep the ball away from them. Hopefully be able to turn over that rookie quarterback a lot and give our offense 30-yard drive instead of having to go 93 all the time or 90. But I believe they should win that game pretty easily.
How are you, Steve?
It's a game that we need to win. We need to win every weekend. This is a game that we should have absolutely no problem winning. I hope so. I imagine that Coach McDaniel is making some fine-tuning adjustments. I don't think he's going to show his hand too much, knowing what's coming up the weekend after. Has to, with the Eagles. But here's what I really hope for, and I'd heard this somewhere else earlier. It made a lot of sense. I really hope that the Dolphins can go out there and control the game well enough that come the fourth quarter, it's like the Broncos. We can take our starters out, we can rest them. No sense in putting them in harm's way. Get the second, third stringers a little bit more of a chance to get out on the field and just kind of rest up and enjoy the rest of the afternoon and know that we've won. Uh, um, Matt was touching on a little bit. I saw Frank Reich's presser from yesterday, maybe earlier today, and you see there's little fractures. You have what are they 0-5 right now? You have a coach coming in who's had a history of winning when he was at Philly and then went to Indianapolis and kind of got rushed out of town there. And I think he came here with a certain set of expectations, but there's turmoil going on there where he's hinting that his boss kind of forced a quarterback on him that he himself really didn't want to take.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that when those problems exist, it's going to ripple down through the rest of the team, and the people that are out there in the trenches fighting all the time aren't going to feel that inspired to go out, especially when they're 0-5 and have some issues in their house like that. But I really think that we should have an opportunity to go out there and do extremely well. They don't do anything offensively that is impressive at all. I think both of our running backs are well above their top running back, their wide receiver. They really don't have a whole lot out there, but it's another one of those opportunities for us to go out there. Mike McDaniel doesn't need to go out there and roll out anything new. Who needs to is Vic Fangio. This should be his sandbox game for him to go out there and find out what can we do to show a couple of new things that show that they work, what works and what doesn't. So I fully expect us to go out there and handle business. I really hope again for a fourth quarter of seeing Mike White take some snaps in Miami Gardens, and for Fan Club Weekend to be an absolute success with a resounding Dolphins victory.
Absolutely. This could be a tricky game, but I didn't expect it to be. The Panthers, so far, unless something miraculous happened and they suddenly click on every phase of the game, has not been outstanding in any part of the game. So we have to turn. They have to turn the whole season in this game for the Dolphins, or something catastrophic happen to the Dolphins. Hopefully not, for this to be a game that the Dolphins don't win. So I will expect this to be a Dolphin win. I'm not gonna call it like a runaway game. I'm gonna I'll be at the game hopefully this Sunday if travel goes well. So hopefully everything goes well. The Dolphins get a nice victory. Everyone stay healthy. The Dolphins win, and we look forward to the Eagles game, who's going to be a rough game. They need everybody healthy as much as possible. So the important thing is to win the game, but stay as healthy as we can this Sunday. So next, we're going to go to the big finish and the top 5 power rankings. Well, here's the top 5 power rankings for I'm gonna start. I have the Detroit Lions at number 5. I did not have not given them any respect. Not before the Chiefs game, not before the season, for a long time. I don't remember. Maybe it's way fun. The last time I believe that the Lions were a team that was probably capable of going somewhere. The Lions are playing well, offensive line, defensive line. That's where you won the battles. They really look strong over there. So I have the Dolphins on number 4. They're doing a steady climb. I start losing by 28. I'm not gonna jump over anybody. I'm gonna hopefully they're gonna, like we expect them to do, like steadily going upwards. So I have them at number 4. At number 3, I had the Kansas City Chiefs minus Taylor Swift. And at number 2, I had the Philadelphia Eagles. And at number 1, I had the San Francisco 49ers. So I don't know, they look unstoppable right now. They look like they love playing on another level. They look like men playing against kids. They took the Cowboys and whooped that, but it was incredible. That I did not expect that. They're playing like they're possessed. It's incredible. So, what about you, Matt? What are your top 5 power rankings?
I think that I'm going to keep the Dolphins at number 5. I think being humble is important in this world. I am on record as saying that they'll go undefeated for the season, and now they'll just go undefeated since the Bills game. But we're going to keep them at number 5. Above them, where did the Detroit Lions come from? I love the story of the Detroit Lions. and I think that all of us would agree that if we could have had our way back then, Dan Campbell would have remained the coach of the Dolphins. He brought something new to the head coach position, and I enjoyed his time here in Miami. Next, the Chiefs, then the Eagles. And number one of my favorite stories, this Brock Purdy guy. He wears 13 because he idolized the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. And he is living the absolute dream as the quarterback for one of the flagship teams in the NFL. So, Dolphins, Lions, Chiefs, Eagles, and then your number one, the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, so we both agree. How about you, Eddie? What are your top 5 ever rankings?
I have the Dolphins at 5, the Lions. It's hard for me. I'm going Chiefs 4, Lions 3.
Okay.
Eagles 2, 49ers at 1 by a long shot right now.
How about you, Steve?
I don't think we're too different. I'll go in reverse order. The 49ers are just an absolute force to be reckoned with right now. Like you said, Sammy, I haven't seen an absolute domination like that from a team against who we had one of the top teams in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys. But the Cowboys are kind of like my Notre Dame of the NFL. Yeah, I think just because the uniform that they wear, they just always get a little bit too much more benefit of the doubt. But their defense is who they should have gone out there and shown who they were. And Mike Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, so impressed by him. Brock Purdy, I think he's a great story. I think that he's also just a huge beneficiary of an absolutely incredible team that is built around him. No offense to him. I think he's done a fantastic job managing with what he has around him. He's not asked to do too much, but absolutely incredible. I'm going on too much about this, but 49ers, forced to be reckoned with. Two, like everybody else, the Eagles, the Chiefs. I have our Dolphins at number 4. And I wanted to go in reverse order because this will drive home my point of turnover differential and a team, again, that I don't think many of us saw this coming, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm never a huge fan of them. I absolutely despise them when Tom Brady was their quarterback. But they have who I think right now is a front runner for the comeback player of the year in Baker Mayfield, playing extremely well. They're dominating the turnover differential margin this year. And I think that they're well poised to take the division, and I didn't have them a chance of finishing anywhere other than 4th in that division. So
I'm really, really happy that Tampa is playing well. I have a good friend who's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, and we knew that the defense was going to be the deciding factor, but the offense holding themselves up. So if that keeps up, the Buccaneers could win that division. So that would be very interesting. Before we go, let's talk very quickly about Chase Claypool. Eddie, for a while, has been saying that it was needed a bigger body. The answer was needed. So he last week to talk about nothing to make a trade. I think Eddie was the winner about that. He nailed that right in the head. So Eddie, what are your thoughts about the Chase Claypool trade?
I think they had an opportunity they couldn't pass up. They literally gave up just a swap of a pick from the 6th to the 7th round, which is no big deal, to get a player that is, I believe he's 6'4", 239, runs a 4.42, can block. If he doesn't fit in, you get rid of him. You really don't lose anything. I think $700,000 of his salary is already being paid by the team that traded to him.
Run that by me again. What's the salary split?
Yeah. I think they paid $700,000 of his contract already, so
the Bears?
we're only paying them. Yes, the Bears. Thank you. I was thinking Pittsburgh, but I couldn't get the Bears.
I do. Me too. I break fire.
I believe he could be used in the red zone, maybe an H-back up there, and send him out there, high point a ball, because we sure do not have anybody that can do that right now. I do not know what happened to Chosen, but he has not shown up in the last couple games, and I thought he would.
Yeah. How about you, man? Any thoughts on the Chase Claypool trade before we go?
I see it as a no-risk deal. As Eddie said, you give up minimal assets for him, and hopefully his head is on right. I know there's some rumblings out of his previous locations that maybe there's some issues there, but how can you not want to play for Mike McDaniel? If there is any issues, that guy has shown creativity as opposed to just throwing him out to the X or the Y or wherever. And we talked about earlier about variety and putting players at different places. I didn't even think of an H-back position like Eddie just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of it, especially we can't always rip off 76-yard pass plays, right? Or 76-yard running plays. I think he feels a need for that big body. I think Aronde Gadsden, when I think of that big body, that type of a target, I think this is a low risk deal. I'm a fan.
What about you, Steve?
We have a 6'4", what about 235-pound guy who ran a 4.42 coming out of college. Fits the mold for the speed that McDaniel likes.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big body that can block. If what you're saying is true, it looks like he had a cap hit of about $2.3 million this year, so we're going to pay him like $1.6 million for a 1-year rental. We have Craycraft out for an undetermined amount of time. We really don't know how long he's going to be out.
Mm-hmm.
And if we really hit the cutoff of number of players that we can bring back from the IR, we don't know who that might end up being. It might end up being Craycraft that sticks on there. I know it's discouraging, I think, for Ezekama, who we finally started to see a couple games. He was running some of that stuff. He was running that H-back roll out of the backfield. So I think that you can't you can't ignore the Chase Claypool drama of the past few weeks up in Chicago. There's clearly something wrong there. He never achieved what I think, I know for a fact he didn't achieve what Chicago expected to get out of him when they gave up a second rounder for him, which turned
Basically
into,
first.
It was the 32nd pick of the draft. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Ross, for losing us that pick, because the 32nd pick of the 2023 NFL draft belonged to the Pittsburgh Steelers for that. But so he never achieved that. Bears gave up a lot to get him. We're getting a very cheap rental on somebody who, when you look at his stats, when he had a healthier Ben Roethlisberger, not his final year Ben Roethlisberger throwing to him, he was a very, very impressive rookie. 4 touchdown passes in 1 game that he caught. He has the ability, he has the explosion, he's not afraid of contact, and just add it more. Give us more redundancies. Give us more tools. Give Mike McDaniel a couple more little toys in his sandbox that he can play with, and hopefully we get a chance to reap some of the benefits while we're watching him play.
So if the Dolphins traded a 6th-round pick for him, and he was basically the first pick because the Dolphins lost the pick, did that mean that we get our first-round pick back? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, we are not getting serious. I expect Chase Claypool to be what probably they were expecting Cedric Wilson Jr. to be. Yeah, that Cedric Wilson Jr., you can see the last game, he has some catches, but, he didn't show the speed that we were expecting of him. He's still a good blocker on the running game, but when you see him, he catches the goal, he sinks like a stone. And he turns like a boat. Like Mikey Siki. Someone used to say that Mikey Siki turns like a boat. But please don't block me, Mikey Siki. Probably watch it. Don't block me. Chase Claypool probably going to be what they were expecting Cedric Wilson Jr. to be. A big body, a fast body. So probably adds a different dimension to the game. Well, this is a low risk, high reward. If Mike McDaniel can work his magic and can convince him and probably make him do things that he never thought he was possible of doing, like those Tebow kind of stuff that Ezekama was doing, it could be a very, very interesting pick, difference maker. When you see Brooks blocking defensive linemen, anything is possible right now. So we'll see what happens.
One thing we need that nobody's even brought up, and I want to make sure we say it before we log off here, and it's probably the most important thing about the Chase Claypool acquisition, and that is this. He's wearing 84. He's not wearing 19. Everybody
He's going to 83. He changed it to 83.
Oh, he did? Okay, but it's not 19.
He's not 19. Not right? 19.
So that right there counts for something, especially towards the win column, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
They need to whatever the worst then retire is for the number 19.
It's like the 13th floor in hotels. It just doesn't exist.
Yes, that's a
number 19
analogy.
jersey doesn't exist
Perfect
ever.
analogy. Yes.
Who was 83 for the Dolphins one time?
Somebody.
Walker.
Scott Miller.
Not Claypool, Clayton.
Mark Clayton.
Mark Clayton.
Was Walker. That's a pretty good number.
I like it.
So guys, always great seeing you. Always great talking to you. Please, if you're watching later, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Really share our channel. We really have a lot of fun doing this program and this edition. So we want to share with everybody. So please make sure to like, subscribe, share with friends. Tell them that we're having so much fun on the show. Feel free always to comment. But you always remember when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Fins up, guys. Absolutely. Go Dolphins.
Fins up. Fins up.
Fins up.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, 'cause we're the Miami Dolphins.